Yeah, we're first.
Did you drop? That's all.
Open meeting law violations,
Oh,
the white book contract.
yeah.
And Jack shuts down the meeting rather than let me finish my 5 minutes of comment. He's serving up another, he's basically.
It's a tough situation.
Well, no, you don't give, they're in the executive session without a lawyer, but invited Kelly and they're taking hearsay. Legal advice from Kelly?
Yeah,
Give me a break.
That's a board member.
I saw she's on the short.
Got the just even though it's being reported in trans.
I think out of not wanting to hurt her feelings,
Yeah.
the city will do anything wrong just to avoid hurting somebody's feelings, so. She would just be more of the Frazier dysfunction. She's sitting there saying there's no merit to any of the brownfield. I've got the paper, girl. I've got all the documents backing up my. She doesn't have any paperwork backing up. Yeah. I'm sure our partners are gonna.
Okay.
Excuse me. This is Cynthia Govin. I'm the chair of this committee. So it's 9 o'clock and I think we should get started. First of all, if you could just speak one at a time, because it's really hard for us virtually to hear you. You kind of all start to get mixed together and it's difficult to hear. So first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to this meeting. My name is Cynthia Gubb, as I said, and I'm from Londonderry, Vermont. And if the other board members would go around quickly and just introduce themselves and where they're from, and then we'll get started. Board members?
John Kasenska.
I'm Gabe Lajeunesse, and I'm in the room in Montpelier.
Okay,
From
great,
Montpelier.
thank you.
John Kasenska from Burke. I'm here.
Great, thank you, John. Anyone else? Or is that just the three of us?
Cynthia, are you looking for board members to identify themselves?
Yes.
Oh, Dave's here too.
Dave Regal, I'm here.
Okay. Hi, Dave. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Maura Collins is here.
Hi, Maura. Thank you. All right. I guess that's all of us. It's hard for me to see because I have my phone with the meeting folks on it and then my computer with documents. So you all are very, very tiny. First of all, we have the, I'm sorry?
Whoever's letting people in should ask them to identify themselves because you don't have a quorum yet.
Sir, we'll run the meeting.
Okay. Do we have any board members who have joined us since then?
Quite a few people in the waiting room.
Okay. That's all right. We'll wait for them. It's just the board members we were introducing. So we have the public comment period, which will run until 9:10, maybe a little bit longer. It's very important that we keep to this schedule, so people will have 2 minutes to make their statement, and then we have to move on to the next person, so we stay within our agenda. It's a little bit flexible, but not a whole lot, so please keep your comments to 2 minutes. So if you would identify yourself, and then please feel free to speak.
I can't fit it into 2 minutes. Steve Whitaker here. How many people are waiting to speak?
2 minutes is the limit, sir.
2 minutes is not viable for public comment. And it's also an improperly warned meeting. It's not registered with the Department of Libraries site, and it's not on the board's website either. So I have about 5 minutes worth of comments. If you have other people waiting, I'll wait for them to go first.
Okay, Steve, then we'll let others go first. And it is on our website.
All right, are there other public members out there that would like to comment?
Yes, I'm Kevin Casey. I'm the chair of the board of the Johnson Health Center up in Johnson. And I just wanted to just say, that we're really excited to see the project going potentially going forward up in Johnson. It's critical, like the work that we do. Not me personally. I actually used to be on the other side working at ACCD or working with ACCD City of Montpelier, but the work that the team does there is critical, providing primary care and addiction treatment to that community, and the opportunity to get out of the floodplain and up into a new space is really exciting for us. We've gone through 2 floods, and it's always kind of in the back of our mind. And it's also nice to be wanted. And our community is and patients are, we're the front line of rural healthcare. And it's a very small staff, and we've always been wanting to grow, but you always have in the back of your mind is our building going to wash away? And so we're excited about this project and what it can do for the community, both for our patients, but as well as Johnson overall. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And we understand how important it is when you're situated in a floodplain, how with our changing climate, how important it is to address those issues. Next person, please.
Am I next?
No, there are others.
All right.
Members of the public, please identify yourself and then you have 2 minutes. Okay, Linda, I saw that you raised your hand. Linda, are you on mute?
Can I speak now?
Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Linda Macris and I'm from Barry. I live in the Old North End for 22 years in affordable housing through the Community Development Land Trust. We were severely impacted by the flood of 23. Since that time, I've applied for grants from FEMA to buy me out. I've applied for elevation studies. Elevation for my house. It all comes through the city. The city has denied me every time. And their stated reason is they want to buy my house. So I have to leave. So I just want you to know that not everything is bright and rosy in the Old North End. If I leave my house, I lose my affordability. So I've had no reason to want to sell. I love my house. I chose it for political reasons. And now I'm getting to the point where if I don't elevate my house myself for the $150,000, that the town will take my house by eminent domain, which is what they've stated all along, is they want my house and my 2 neighbors' houses for further development, not really part of this project. So they've refused me every time. And I just have a bad taste in my mouth about all this. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Other public members?
Yeah, I'm waiting till last.
Yes, we know, Steve. We're just trying to get everyone else in.
They're Kathy Byer, Melissa Manka, Michael Burbaum, Nicola Anderson.
Okay, do any of you want to make a public comment? Right, I'm not hearing any responses.
No, thank you.
All right, then Steve, you're on and you have 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. Thank you for the opportunity. CDBG DR funding right now exists because of the 2023 flood. Montpelier suffered more than, or much more than many communities in Vermont, yet many residents, especially the unhoused, whose tents were washed out from under the pavilion office building porch, have never recovered. For them, the flood might have well been yesterday. They still sleep outside without safety or stability. Real resilience must include and support them too. At the same time, Montpelier now owns 133 plus acres of high ground at Country Club Road, an extraordinary opportunity for a resilient, walkable, climate adapted village. But instead of careful planning, the city's rushing towards a developer because this agency, has repeatedly signaled to municipalities that they need a developer on board before infrastructure dollars will be considered. That guidance is not only wrong, it's dangerous. It reverses the basic sequence of responsible planning, and it undermines the statutory mission of ACCD and the Department of Housing and Community Development, which is to support community planning, not to accelerate developer timelines. Because of this pressure, Montpelier is now preparing to move forward without any community-driven master plan for Country Club Road, a brownfield remediation plan, a full traffic or mobility analysis, any interim emergency shelter plan, or any meaningful public engagement. This is not planning, it's improvisation under duress. The Country Club Road site also has a non-negotiable physical constraint that must be acknowledged. There's one access road with up to a 14% grade feeding into Route 2, a nearby railroad siding, and a roundabout already operating at failing levels of service. Any realistic planning process must begin by quantifying that constraint through a full professional traffic analysis. As a prerequisite condition, documenting that constraint forces the only safe conclusion: this cannot be a car-dependent suburban subdivision. But that limitation is also an opportunity. It forces us wisely towards a walkable, low transportation, live local, resilient uptown village, where people of all ages and incomes live close to services. Food is grown locally on clean soils, childcare, elder care, trades, and recreation are on site. Emergency response functions for the next floods sit above the floodplain, and movement to downtown happens by electric shuttle on a multi-use path, not on Route 2. Vermont has never built such a modern walkable village near to downtown, but not adjacent to it. Country Club Road is the perfect place to start. And during the interim years, while brownfield remediation and planning proceed, the site can safely host supervised, dignified emergency shelter for the very people still sleeping outside today in Montpelier. This is the true meaning of resilience. Finally, I want to address oversight. ACCD and DHCD are the statutory guardians of municipal planning and public participation in Vermont. Yet in Montpelier, the culture has shifted from planning with the community to facilitating developers. Staff now direct outcomes, the Planning Commission rubber stamps consultant products, and the public is exhausted and marginalized. When the Department of Housing and Community Development operates as the Department of Housing and Developer Affairs, it abandons its statutory mission and disenfranchises the very residents CDBG DR is meant to protect. So I urge this board, condition any CDBG DR funding for Montpelier, even culverts or wastewater treatment facility berming, on restoring authentic community planning. Specifically require that Montpelier, before receiving any CDBG DR dollars, complete a full brownfield remediation plan before any ground disturbance, conduct a full professional traffic and mobility analysis for Country Club Road to establish the constraints that must shape the design, undertake a truly community-driven master plan for Country Club Road before selecting any developer, and plan for supervised brownfield compliant interim emergency shelter. Montpelier can still do this right, but only if the state, starting today, insists on planning before development, safety before speed, and community before convenience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Steve. That was exactly 5 minutes. All right, did we miss any other public before we move on to the agenda? This is the last chance for that public input. Okay, hearing none, we're going to move forward with the rest of the agenda, starting with the funding and requirement overview by staff.
Sure, yeah. Hello, I'm Nate Formulari. I'm the Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Housing and Community Development. I think we all know why we're here, but just to set the table a little bit and explain how we got to this day. This particular funding was allocated by the Congress under President Biden. We got the universal notice and guidance on this funding on Inauguration Day. So it was a very tumultuous time to be handling federal dollars. We felt like we needed to act quickly to ensure that we were able to retain the dollars and they weren't pulled back, given everything that was happening last winter and spring. So I just wanted to make a quick comment that that's how we got here today. We asked the team to move quickly in getting our action plan together, which was done by June. The plan was approved by HUD by July, and we had our grant agreement in place by August, which then led to this application period. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of hard work by this team. So I just wanted to thank them for their hard work. And we hope to keep this moving and get these dollars moving. And I will turn it over to Devin, who has joined the team as our DR specialist and has been leading a lot of this work with many other members of the team.
All right, thank you, Nate. Julie, if you move us along to the next slide. So first, just to review our agenda, we've had our public comment period. We're going to start off by reviewing the CDBG DR program generally, talking about available funding and requirements of the program. Then we'll move on to a very brief overview of the applications. We're not going to give a full summary of every single one because there were so many. However, once we move on to our consent agenda, I will give a brief overview of every project that staff is recommending for funding. If you'll move us along, Julia, skip that one. All right, so to talk a little bit about the CDBG DR program, there are a lot of specific requirements in this program. And I'm going to try to give you a general overview of what those are. So first of all, there are 4 program areas which we can fund, those being housing, infrastructure, mitigation, and planning. One thing I would like to emphasize is that infrastructure projects have the most specific requirements as far as what sort of project can qualify under this program area. For a project to qualify as an infrastructure project, according to the universal notice, there must be a tieback to damages that occurred in July of 2023. Meaning if a bridge was damaged due to flooding, that qualifies as an infrastructure project. However, if we're looking at a general mitigation activity where there isn't a specific tieback to damages, those projects have to fall under the mitigation category. Okay, so the next large requirement is the HUD MID and the state MID. So MID stands for most impacted and distressed areas. These are determinations that were established by HUD based on data collected by FEMA. We are required to spend a minimum of 80% of our funds in the HUD MID area, the most impacted and distressed area identified by HUD, which for our program is Washington and Lamoille counties. So the minimum award allocation that we can spend in the HUD MID area is $51.5 million. And I do believe that these numbers are not including administration funds. So these are the next high-level requirement is that at least 70% of our funds must directly benefit low and moderate income persons. This is a requirement that is common to all CDBG dollars and applies to this program as well. Move along to the next one, Julia. Alrighty, so here I wanted to highlight Patrick.
Yeah, thank you. This is Patrick, one of the managers with the Vermont Community Development Program. I just wanted to point out the HUD and state MID with all the public present that when the universal notice originally came out to us, HUD had identified all of Washington County and just the town of Johnson. We were able to go back to HUD with data and lobby and advocate for the fact that all of Lamoille County should be considered one of HUD's mid areas so that we could utilize more of our funding throughout the entire county and not just the town of Johnson. And then the state mid, with the universal notice, HUD allows us then to identify other distressed areas as a result of this disaster. And through our analysis and needs analysis throughout the rest of the state, we were able to identify Caledonia, Orleans, Rutland, Wyndham, and Windsor counties as areas of need to make projects eligible there. Now, unfortunately, HUD only allows us to a ceiling of 20% of our funding for the state mid identified areas, but we were, through our analysis, like I said, able to bring those counties into eligibility to be able to consider projects in those areas.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. Okay, so let's talk about some program areas. On the left-hand column, we have the funds that we have allocated to these specific program areas, and on the right, we have the requests. So as you can see, we were far overprescribed in every program area. We received the highest amount of requests in the housing program, second to that being infrastructure. In the infrastructure program, we actually received the highest number of applications. And unfortunately, the amount of available funding did not match that in the housing program. So some tough decisions were made, as we will discuss later. And I would like to mention that we did reallocate a small portion of funds in order to accommodate the mitigation projects that we received. All right, let's move along and discuss the funding requests that we received. Oops. Okay, so first, we would like to give you a brief overview of our process when we were conducting our analysis, because this wasn't a process that happened solely within DHED. We actually consulted and had other external partners participate in our scoring process quite intensively. So the other agencies and organizations that we included were Vermont Emergency Management, the Department of Environmental Conservation, Agency of Transportation, Central Recovery Office, and CDBG DR staff. So the first step in our analysis process was scoring. This was done using a rubric that was incorporated into our action plan. This was a quantitative analysis looking at project feasibility, project readiness, and cost effectiveness. So following our scoring, we wrote memos that are primarily for the board's use that break down these projects into an overview, background, budget items, performance indicators, scoring, and staff identified issues. Following memo writing, CDBG DR staff held a meeting with Vermont Emergency Management and the Department of Environmental Conservation in order to qualitatively analyze all of these proposals. We identified projects that had outlying scores and really got into the more niche components of these proposals. Vermont Emergency Management helped with some prioritization, and the Department of Environmental Conservation helped us look at feasibility for some of these expansive mitigation proposals that involve floodplain restorations or dam removal and things of that kind. Okay, so the last part in our staff analysis process was consultation. Our funding recommendations were passed up the ladder to the governor, the chief recovery officer, as well as the ACCD commissioners. We really wanted to thoroughly vet our funding recommendations before presenting them to the board, because this is a lot of money. There's a lot of need around the state, and we wanted to make sure that we were being inclusive in our funding distribution and the types of projects that we were choosing to recommend. Let's move along. All right, so now we are going to talk about all of our funding requests. So as I said, I'm not going to give an in-depth summary of all of these, but I will give a little high-level overview of each program area. So housing and infrastructure are split into two slides because we had such a high quantity. As you can see, we have 4 proposals from Downstreet Housing and Community Development. These projects are in Barry, Montpelier, and Johnson. We then have 2 private developers who submitted requests, one in Plainfield, one in Montpelier on Northfield Street. Let's move along. We have 1 proposal from Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust. This is a project in Ludlow. We have the East Village expansion proposal from Plainfield, and then 3 housing proposals from the city of Barry. As far as infrastructure goes, there was quite a wide range of the types of proposals that we received for infrastructure projects. As you can see, there are some bridge replacements, buyout facilitation, is specifically brownfield remediation work. We have another bridge replacement, floodplains, municipal water supplies, and even the relocation of a homeless shelter. We have some culverts in Londonderry and Montpelier. We have a mitigation project that did have a tie back to damages. We were able to incorporate it into this program area. In addition to some more bridges. Okay, let's on. So these are the mitigation proposals that we received. As a reminder, these projects do not have to have a direct tie back to damages, but look to improve and enhance future resilience in flood events. The Randall Meadow project is in Waterbury. We have a couple of dam removal proposals in Montpelier. Hardwick proposed restoring a floodplain. Notably, the Montpelier submitted a proposal to conduct mitigation activities on their water resource recovery facility, and we'll discuss this one a little bit more in depth later, as well as a wastewater system expansion in Londonderry. We did receive a lot of planning proposals, and pretty much all of these are focused on future resiliency, whether that means conducting a feasibility study or the development of housing outside of the floodplain, relocation of homes and mobile parks, and also some really inspiring hydrology studies that will enhance our understanding of our watersheds so that we can identify priority actions in the future. Memorial County has actually already conducted a hydrology analysis and is now seeking to move forward and identify priority projects and bring them towards shovel readiness, building on already conducted studies. The city of Barry has some mitigation projects looking at stormwater management, and Plymouth is hoping to study a brook that has caused extensive damage in many flooding events. Let's move along. Okay, so I'd like to pause there for questions. That was quick, and I will cover funding recommendations in more depth, but do we have any questions from the board as far as the funding request that we received? I'm seeing some shaking heads. Okay. Well, I'm going to move along. So we're going to go program area by program area. I'm going to give a brief description of each project that we are proposing for funding, and then I will pause after each program area so that the board may ask questions or clarification on any of these proposals. All right, so we're going to look at housing first, and I'm going to go from the top down. So the Stevens Branch proposal, it was submitted by Downstreet Housing and Community Development in partnership with Evernorth. This project will construct 31 new units, which are 100% affordable. This project is located in downtown Barry and will be supported by the city through tax increment financing for the installation of critical infrastructure. Next, Black River Overlook. This project was submitted by Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust. This project seeks to preserve 22 existing units of affordable housing that is located at the Black River Overlook community in Ludlow. The existing flood-prone private well will be replaced with a connection to the municipal water system, mitigating the effect of flood damage to the well field and enabling fire hydrant installation, which the community currently lacks. Next, the Northfield Street Affordable Housing Project. This project was submitted by Elliott LLC to construct 2 residential buildings on Northfield Street in Montpelier, each containing 14 units of 100% affordable housing. Buildings will consist of modular construction and will connect to existing municipal systems. 9 Keaton Street was submitted by Downstreet Housing and Community Development. Downstreet will be acquiring the underutilized Washington County Mental Health Services Office Building in Montpelier. Project will consist of the adaptive reuse, which will bring 21 new affordable units online in the city of Montpelier. Moving down the list, McClellan Hall. This is a grant to Downstreet to acquire and redevelop McClellan Hall on the Vermont State University Johnson campus. Project will also include the new construction of an adjacent residential building. In total, the project will create 25 new units of affordable housing, 13 of which will be reserved for seniors, and all 25 of those units will be affordable. Heaton home ownership. This is a project that is linked to the 9 Heaton Street project. This will be on the same property acquired from Washington County Mental Health Services. This is a shared equity affordable home ownership opportunity, and 2 of the 4 units will be affordable to those at or below 80% of area median income. Next, we have the Plainfield Inn. This proposal was submitted by ExecuSuite. This project will involve the rehabilitation of the historic Bancroft Inn in Plainfield. 15 units will be created, 8 of which will be affordable. And last, we have Prospect Heights. This is a grant to the city of Barrie for the acquisition, permitting, engineering, and infrastructure activities in service of the new Prospect Heights affordable housing developments. This project will prepare a 36-acre site off of Prospect Street for residential developments and will deliver up to 91 new housing units. So these are our proposed funding recommendations in the housing category. Like I said, there was a very thorough analysis that went into this, looking at feasibility, readiness, cost effectiveness, and so on. I would like to pause there and see if we have any questions from the board about our housing proposals.
I have a question.
Go
I'm
ahead, Mara.
not familiar with ExecuSuite or Elliott LLC, and I'm just wondering what due diligence and underwriting the staff did about the development experience of those partners.
Absolutely. First, I'll talk about ExecuSuite. ExecuSuite is a subsidiary of a larger company called Ledgeworks, which I do believe some are familiar with around Vermont and in New Hampshire. They have a pretty extensive portfolio of rehabilitating properties and creating affordable units. A lot of their work has happened in New Hampshire, but also in White River Junction. I believe they brought quite a few units online. We received some pretty strong advocacy from many community members, providing a support, thank you, providing support for their work and advocating for it. That's the word I was looking for. The other proposal, Elliott LLC. Elliott LLC is a first-time developer. However, we have had extensive conversations with him about compliance, procurement, etc. He does have the required financial reserves in order to make this a viable project. As far as project readiness, he has site plans, site control, plans for the building itself, and the fact that he is able to hook up to existing municipal infrastructure and having to install that himself or have us do it actually makes us the most cost-effective housing proposal that is in front of us today.
He also has existing.
And he also has existing properties. Thank you, Anne. So there will be an extensive process, many, conditions and technical assistance provided, but we like this project most because of its readiness and cost effectiveness. And there will be lots of technical assistance really with all of these projects across the board. If anyone on the board has recommendations or concerns, we would love you to share those with us and we'll incorporate that into grant agreements and so on. Mara, did that answer your question?
It did, thank you. And is Barry planning on doing some kind of RFI to get a developer for Prospect Heights?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
they are. Yeah, we are and have been in close communication with the city. That is our topmost priority in moving that project forward.
So
Thank
I
you.
had a question.
Yeah.
Just when I was looking through the materials, is this 100%? Are we holding anything back? Is this 100% of the funds?
This is not 100% of the funds. We are holding funds back. We have approximately $14 million that will be available for round 2 funding. I have that exact number on our last slide.
Okay.
So yes, we will discuss that.
Yeah.
But most definitely.
Thanks.
Of course.
David has.
Go ahead, David.
I just want to appreciate the effort and energy that went into putting this all together. Thank you. My question is about the Johnson project and the cost per unit compared to the other projects that are out there. It looked like it was up in the 700,000s. And then also there was some significant funding sources that were still pending on that project. So just hoping you can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, David. You are correct. However, this is a community that has the highest amount of need. I should say the highest, very large need. This project does involve adaptive reuse and new construction. So we can't quite expect it to be the most cost effective. However, the fact that half these units are reserved for seniors, 100% are affordable. And it's located in the state mid, which we did not want to overlook, and making funding recommendations. All of that played into our decision to recommend.
It's in a HUD bid.
It's in the HUD mid, excuse me.
Yeah.
It's in the HUD mid, strike that. All that being said, the department works with Downstreet closely, and I think we have a lot of confidence in their ability to secure their other funding sources and move this along. Housing prices have risen a lot. And while we do have a lot of cost-effective proposals here, their proposal does still fall within the high range, but still an acceptable range as far as cost per unit.
That's a very old building.
It's a very old building. Thanks for the question, David.
Thank you.
Sorry. I have another question. It's a sort of a follow-up to the previous, and I'm not sure exactly where we get into. Maybe it's more appropriate for later, but we scored, you guys went through your process of how you did that. Assuming the board were to approve with the staff recommendations, were those projects that did not make this list, right? Are they going to be told why they fell short and maybe have an opportunity to resubmit for the round two?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, any project that we chose not to fund can come back with a new proposal. And also anybody who did not come in for this first round will also be able to come in for the second.
But we'll give them comments about why they didn't score as highly or
Yes.
something. Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah.
I have another question about the Plainfield project. I only know of this project by what I've read in the news about it. And I'm just wondering about, are there timing constraints on this money? And related question is there worry about readiness to proceed? And I'm just curious to hear a little more about why staff feels like that one is at the same level of readiness as some of the others, or is there some urgency here that calls for this award to be made now as opposed to when this is a little further along?
This is Nate. Are you thinking this is the East Village project?
Yes.
This is a separate project in Plainfield. The East
Oh,
Village
okay.
project did not make the recommend.
Okay, I
At
got
this
confused
point.
in my packet.
Yeah, this is the Plainfield Inn.
Okay. That
Yeah.
answers
And
my
these will be-
questions. I was wondering why
Yeah,
that one
yeah,
got a
yeah.
recommendation and, thank you.
And these are rental units?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Can we move on?
All right. Thank you all for your questions. So we're going to move to the infrastructure program now, starting with the Detman Bridge replacement. This is a grant to the town of Brattleboro to replace and upsize the Detman Bridge in Brattleboro, which serves as the main access point to the Mountain Home Mobile Home Park, also known as Tri-Park. The bridge and abutments were damaged in July of 2023, and this is the main access point for emergency vehicles, school buses, and fuel trucks as well. Next, we have buyout facilitation on potential contaminated properties. This proposal is from Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Commission. This project will conduct brownfield work and remediation, enabling buyouts of flood-affected properties. Assistance will focus on properties owned by low-income households to enable the property buyouts to take place expeditiously, and at minimal cost to either the property owner or municipality. Then we have the Cabot flood mitigation for the North Tributary. This is a grant to the town of Cabot to replace an existing 80-year-old bridge with an elevated bridge and roadway that will provide greater clearance and headspace for passage of stormwater flows and flood debris, which will avoid the flooding of residences and damage to the town's recreational fields. Flood bench will also be installed to increase floodwater storage. Next, we have the Harrington Avenue floodplain and debris racks. Excuse me, my notes are in a different order. The Morrisville Municipal Water Supply Recovery and Resilience. This is a grant to Lamoille County Planning Commission with a sub-grant to the Village of Morrisville Water, which will replace the destroyed well number 2 with a new well at higher elevation, floodproofing of well number 3, relocating the generator to safe ground, and stabilizing the riverbank near Tenney Bridge. This water system is particularly crucial because it serves Copley Hospital in addition to the surrounding residential area. Okay, next we have the Berry City Emergency Shelter Relocation and Floodway Site Restoration. This is a grant to Good Samaritan Haven to relocate their Berry City homeless shelter out of the floodway where it currently exists by acquiring a new site in Berry City. The new shelter will provide resources to 24 individuals experiencing homelessness, which is an increase from the current capacity of 17. Additionally, they will demolish the existing structure and establish a pocket park, which will serve as flood storage in the future. And last but not least, we have the Harrington Avenue floodplain and debris racks. This is a grant to the city of Berry to install an expanded floodplain along the Gunners Brook in the vicinity of Harrington Avenue and to redesign the existing debris racks to better ensure that water remains within the Gunners Brook channel during flood conditions and does not flood the adjacent neighborhoods. I will pause there. Those are our recommended infrastructure projects for CDBG DR Round 1 funding. Do we have any questions from the board? John?
Yeah, Nate, thank you. Just one quick thing, the Organization for the Buyout Facilitation, what's TRORC? Just remind me.
That is Two Rivers Ottaquiche Regional Commission.
So
they have done this work in the past.
Okay, great. That was my second
Yeah,
question.
we
Thank
worked
you.
with them during Tropical Storm Irene for this very activity, and we've been in close concert with Vermont Emergency Management.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, John. I believe they actually won awards for their work doing similar work during Irene. We'll prioritize low and moderate income individuals, and will be a mix potentially of residential and commercial properties.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Lisa. I think you're muted, Lisa.
On mute.
Okay, here I am. So with this funding as well, there's a round 2 as well, and how much is left for that?
No.
There's no.
So for the housing program is the only program where there will be remaining funding for a round 2. So the infrastructure mitigation and planning categories are fully committed.
Okay.
Thank you. Great question. Do we have any other questions from the board? Alrighty. Well, let's move along to the mitigation category. So this program area has had the smallest allocation. However, these are large impactful projects. First, Randall Meadow. This is a grant to the town of Waterbury to complete engineering and removal of approximately 100,000 cubic yards of silt, soil, and other material from Randall Meadow to create additional water storage capacity to mitigate future flood events. This project can result in up to a 1-foot flood reduction in downtown Waterbury, which was completely underwater in July of 2023. You may notice we are not fully funding their proposal. This is based on consultation from the Chief Recovery Officer and also the ability of this project to proceed phase at a time. So we can begin the process, and as other funding sources become available, continue. Next, we have the upsizing of the Lawrence Hill Road Bridge, removal of the mill dam, the creation of a flood bench on the west bank of the West River. This is a grant to the town of Weston to complete the activities that I just mentioned, and this will result in future mitigation to future flooding within Weston Village. So there's an upsizing of a bridge, the removal of a dam, the creation of a flood bench. And last, we have the Confluence Floodplain Restoration. This is a grant to the town of Hardwick to implement floodplain restoration on a 14-acre town-owned parcel directly adjacent to the Lamoille River to mitigate effects of future flooding on the downtown area. Activities include regrading of flood benches, bank stabilization, and reconnection of side channels. We have any questions from the board regarding mitigation proposals? Right. I'm not seeing any hands raised.
I'm sorry, I am gonna ask one. I remember you talking about the various organizations that you consulted in making these recommendations. And without me scrolling back through my notes, could you remind me of you must have talked to either ANR or someone science-y who understands appropriate restoration efforts. Could you just speak a little bit about the subject matter experts? Because I'm a housing person, so I'm feeling out of my depth. So I just want to be reassured that science-minded people who understand proper restoration advised you.
Of course, Mara, and we were of a similar mind, which is exactly why we brought those individuals to the
Yeah.
table. So those organizations were Vermont Emergency Management, who are really the primary boots on the grounds, helping municipalities when the flooding took place. And second, the Department of Environmental Conservation, which is within the Agency of Natural Resources.
Right.
That's where we got some of our most helpful information as far as what mitigation activities would be impactful, as opposed to having an isolated effect, but not, delivering a transformative change to the area.
Specifically, I'll just add as well with DEC, it was their watershed management division and the manager of the River Corridor and Floodplain Protection Program that we spoke with.
That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Mara. And we did also have talks with the Chief Recovery Officer about these mitigation proposals as well. He's fairly aware of, how to prioritize things based on the available funding. So we really labored over these decisions, and I appreciate your attention to how we made it. All right, let's move on to planning. So quite a few proposals here. We are awarding our full allocation of planning funds, starting with the Woody Avenue Development Project. This is a grant to the town of Waterbury to complete a feasibility study for feasibility study and pre-development of the expansion of municipal water and sewer infrastructure to a municipally owned parcel of land on Woody Avenue to create affordable and/or senior housing. So this is a feasibility study for future housing development located outside of the floodplain. Next, we have the Riverside Mobile Home Park Flood Adaptation Planning. This is a grant to the town of Woodstock with a sub-grant to a nonprofit Sustainable Woodstock to complete flood mitigation planning at the Riverside Mobile Home Park to reduce the possibility of future flood damage by exploring the need for floodplain restoration and potential elevation or relocation of homes. Next, we have the Downtown Hardwick Flood Mitigation and Scoping Study. excuse the abbreviated titles on the chart you're looking at. We only had so much space. So again, this is the Downtown Hardwick Flood Mitigation Scoping Study. This is a grant to the town of Hardwick to complete a scoping study of the Lamoille River corridor in downtown Hardwick to identify strategies to mitigate the effects of future flooding events through the restoration and stabilization of the riverbanks. Next, we have stormwater design and engineering. This is a grant to the city of Barry to complete the scoping, engineering, and design of high impact stormwater projects to mitigate flooding across the city. These studies will build on hydrology studies that are currently underway. Those hydrology studies will allow the city to identify priority projects, which they will move to shovel readiness with this planning grant. Okay, next we have the Lamoille County Long-Term Flood Mitigation and Resiliency Planning and Project Developments. This is a grant to Lamoille County Planning Commission to move identified infrastructure resilience projects to shovel readiness. Additionally, LCPC will assist municipalities in planning and policy development geared towards shifting future development outside of the floodplain. So as I mentioned earlier, Lamoille County has conducted what's called 1D, 2D hydraulic modeling. So they have a good understanding of their watershed, or at least the watershed within Lamoille County. And with that understanding, they've identified priority actions. This next proposal, the River Navigator, which was submitted by Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission, seeks to conduct that 1D, 2D hydraulic modeling. So this is a grant to Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission to support long-term flood recovery and adaptation planning by conducting a flood modeling and hydrology study of the Upper Winooski River Basin to identify watershed and municipal scale flood hazard mitigation projects. CVRPC will also engage architects and structural engineers in developing flood mitigation recommendations for up to 25 residential and mixed-use historic buildings. Okay, next we have the North Montpelier Recovery and Resilience Affordable Housing Initiative. This is a grant to the town of East Montpelier to complete a feasibility study to explore potential sites for housing opportunities located outside of the floodplain in North Montpelier. Additionally, to study the feasibility of creating a new public water and sewer system to provide increased resiliency to the town's housing stock. And lastly, so this is a unique recommendation that CDBG DR staff is making. We did receive an implementation grant proposal from the city of Montpelier for mitigation activities at their water resource recovery facility. Unfortunately, after consulting with our subject matter experts, it was determined that the proposed action in their implementation grant proposal was not a good long-term solution, and it was quite expensive as well. Essentially, they proposed to use a road, an elevated road, as a levee to prevent floodwaters from overtopping the road and infiltrating the facility. Our subject matter experts really emphasize that a road is not a levee. It's not designed to act as a levee. And this isn't a good long-term solution, especially for the price tag that was attached to it. So our staff would like to recommend funding a planning grant to the city of Montpelier to implement a more in-depth alternatives analysis so that they can identify an effective long-term solution to mitigate flooding at the wastewater recovery facility. This is an especially important project because they process septage, sludge, and commercial byproducts for the entire central Vermont region. They do processing for municipalities, residential septic tanks, and commercial facilities. So we did not want to overlook the importance of this facility, but we did want to be responsible stewards of these funds and not fund a project that might not survive the next flood. Okay, so those are our planning grant funding recommendations. Do we have any questions from the board?
Sounds like there are no questions, so let's keep going.
It doesn't need Cynthia. Thank you. Okay, so those are all of
Crickets
our
out there.
funding recommendations for round one of CDBG DR fundings. This is being presented as a consent agenda to the board. Yes, and this next slide, I wanted to make sure that we discuss the water resource recovery facility, which we have. That is it as far as my presentation of the consent agenda. Cynthia, do we have a process?
Well, let me just ask a question. Do we want to do each category separately or do it as a whole from the board? Does anyone have any, major concerns in any of these categories of a specific project?
I have no concerns. I would suggest we review each of the four recommendations separately. Just it might be cleaner in the future looking back by category.
And it's probably not so overwhelming either. So that's a good suggestion, Angus. Thank you. So starting with the housing, any particular project that we need further explanation of for the board? If not, can I hear a motion to accept the funding recommendations on the housing portion of the CBDG DR funding?
This is John. I'll make a motion that we approve the list as presented.
And I'll second it. It's Maura.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor,
So
please
I just
say aye.
Cynthia, I
who's
just
that?
have one question. I think Montpelier, the city of Montpelier, I have to recuse myself from because I'm a planning commissioner, but the downstreet, does it matter?
Yes, you should recuse yourself.
Okay, so anything to do with Montpelier, including downstreet, just know if I vote, it's not for those. However, you need to know that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah. Anything that's located in Montpelier.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And we just have the abstention from the Montpelier projects. Okay, great. Moving on to the public infrastructure.
I would make a motion
Right.
to approve the, this is Angus of Town of Brandon. I'd make a motion to approve the staff recommendations on the infrastructure category as written.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second from John.
Okay, any further discussion? Questions? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, it passes. Moving on to mitigation, please. May we have a motion to accept the recommendations for mitigation funding?
This is Angus. I'll make a motion to approve the staff's recommendation on the mitigation projects.
Okay.
I'll
and a
second. This is Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Any further discussion, questions? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, moving right along to planning. May we have a motion to accept the funding recommendations by staff for planning?
This is John. I'll make a motion that we accept the funding recommendations under the planning area as presented.
Thank you, John. A second?
I'll second. Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Any further discussion or questions about these projects?
I do have one question.
Okay.
So I noticed that in some cases, the scoring of projects that funding is being recommended are lower than ones that where it's not. And I don't know if we could speak to that a little bit. I could hear a little bit about those decisions.
Yeah, absolutely, Lisa. So like I mentioned, there was a quantitative scoring process and then a qualitative review. The qualitative review happened because we looked at average scores across all scorers, and there were some projects where one scorer gave a score that was significantly lower than the other three scorers who were on that proposal. And so we had in-depth conversations to understand why they gave it a significantly lower score. I'll give you an example. The proposal for the Plymouth Moneybrook revitalization of the waters. The scope of their project is about stabilizing a landslide. And, our initial reaction to that was stabilizing a landslide. We're affecting water quality and roadways. That seems like a worthy use of funds. But after consulting with the Department of Environmental Conservation, they indicated that if that landslide was stabilized, then another landslide will just appear down the brook. That the scope of their proposal really was not a permanent long-term solution, and their proposal should be rescoped. So that was our thought process when making these recommendations. And if you have a specific proposal that you're wondering our considerations for, I'd be happy to expand on that for you.
The town I'm probably concerned most about is Londonderry, because I know the flooding that has occurred there. And so I guess I'm concerned that they are not being recommended really in any planning or hazard mitigation. And it pops for me a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, Lisa. And we did attempt to be very sensitive to the sort of considerations that you're talking about here. The main issue that came up with their planning proposal was that they wanted to conduct design and engineering for a bridge. One of our subject matter experts was familiar with this particular bridge, and if it did move to implementation, this would be a $3 to $5 million construction project that serves around 5 residences. So when we were looking at the cost benefit of that, and also the likelihood of that planning study moving to implementation, with the high price tag associated with it, we felt like that was not the best use of these planning funds.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for your questions, Lisa. And I really appreciate where you're coming from.
Any other questions? Could we have a motion to accept the funding recommendations for the planning grants?
I think we have a motion. We're just looking for a vote.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I think we have a motion and a
right,
second, so it's just a vote.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
And then I abstain on Montpelier.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, that passes.
I'll just add.
All right. Well, thank you, board members.
Yeah. I just want to second what David said earlier. I'm just really impressed with the process the staff used, the technical aspect. This is a very large meeting in terms of the scale of requests to the scale of awards, the details, the number of people you coordinated with. And I'm glad that we have staff like you who can manage such a complex process. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Andy.
Absolutely, I
Great
would
job.
second that. Yeah.
Thank you, Angus.
So our
Very
next
kind words.
meeting on CBDG DR recovery is April 2nd, correct?
No, it's
Well,
CDBG next is December 10th.
she said.
Oh,
to-
yeah.
Well, these are
Round two.
proposed dates that we have. And so we just wanted to go over this, and maybe Devin, you want to finish while you're on a roll.
Yes, I'm on a roll. So yes, these are tentative dates that still need some approval, but these offer a reasonable timeline to our applicants to develop proposals and submit them to us. These dates should be confirmed in the next week or so, I would say. And this is that final number for the round 2 funding allocation. That will be strictly for housing proposals. We will have $14 million, 461,305 available for round 2 funding. I believe our grant maximum will be kept at $10 million, but ideally we'd like to see 2 proposals come in at least. So board members will be in communication with you about these final deadlines, but just as a placeholder for you, we're looking at April 2nd. And that is all that we have.
Would you like a
All right.
motion to adjourn?
That sounds good, unless there's anything else we should cover before adjourning. Anne?
No, not for DR at this moment, no, I guess, but in answer to your question, yes, our next board meeting is December 10th. For our scattered site program. And then, the regular one for regular CDBG will be June, I don't know, June 12th, I think. 11, June 11th.
And I would just say, as you all know, this process, this now goes up the chain for approval.
Yeah, so it's confidential.
So confidential for now, and we don't know the exact day we'll announce it, but we'll let you all know when that announcement is coming on all the final decisions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And thank you
All right,
again
well, I
for all
wish
your.
everyone a happy Thanksgiving and safe travels if you're traveling. And we'll see you in December.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks for your good
Wait,
work.
did we get a
Thanks very
motion to?
Bye.
We didn't get a
Wait,
motion.
did we get
Oh.
Yeah, we need a
To adjourn.
motion to adjourn in a second.
I'll move.
Thanks, Angus. Second.
Second.
Unanimous consent.
John, all in favor?